Hi everyone! Today I'm going to talk about the most recent full novel I had finished reading, my first novel of the year, so that's exciting. And the book is Tithe, and this is written by Holly Black, and Tithe is a modern fairy tale. I don't think it's a fairy tale retelling. I haven't read all of the Brothers Grimm's or all the historical folklore, so I couldn't tell you in all honesty if it's a retelling, but it's not a retelling of the fairy tales that I know, and I know quite a bit, whether from Disney or reading some of the Brothers Grimm's, and I found it quite interesting. I'll go ahead and give you my rating. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. However, I will give a disclaimer that if Goodreads had half stars, I would have given it a 3.5 stars out of 5. And that doesn't mean I don't like the book. My rating system is if I love a book, absolutely love a book, will read it over and over again throughout the years, it's a 5-star book. If I like the book, and, I like it more than just, oh, it's an okay book, but I, like the book, not enough to love it, but I like it, I will give it a 4-star rating. And books that are kind of somewhere, I'm glad I read them. I don't regret reading them. I didn't dislike them. There are parts I might have disliked or things I disliked, but I didn't dislike it as a whole. And I liked the work in general, but I didn't, like it enough really to be a 4 or 5-star book. It's not one of the best books I've ever read. But it was something that I would recommend to somebody based on their personality and based on other books they had read. So if you like fantasy or young adult fantasy or children's stories, this has some graphic scenes for a children's story, but you kind of like that lighter literature, but you like that, fantasy element or science fiction element, I would recommend this. I thought the ending itself was incredibly good. I loved the ending. It had both happy and sad elements, which I liked. Again, this will be non-spoiler, so if you haven't read the book, I'm not going to spoil anything, which means my synopsis isn't going to be the best because, especially in this book, if I explain the world, then I feel like you'll kind of know what happens, even though some of it does happen, in the first half of the book. So I'm just going to kind of throw that out there, that the synopsis isn't going to be complete. I'm not going to explain the world a lot because I don't want to spoil any elements for you. So the main character in this book is Kai, and she is a girl, and she's different from people her age. She's definitely kind of that outcast, and a lot of that has to do with how she grew up. Well, when she was little, she was an outcast at school, but in elementary school, but she would talk to fairies, and she had all of these fairy friends, and she had moved with her mother to Philadelphia later in life, and she hadn't seen these fairies since, but she had kept in touch with her childhood best friend Janet throughout this. And in the very first scene of the book, there was an event that happened which I won't go into great detail on, but basically it forced Janet and her mother to move back into where Kai, had gone to elementary school and stuff when she was younger, back to her grandmother's house. And the story basically, I would say, is one of the main themes is not everything is as good as it seems. Like, even good and evil aren't necessarily good and evil. The world's not black and white, and there's a big gray area. And, kind of keep your eyes open and learn to put together all the clues that are given and not just take things because people say it. The beginning of the book, which is why it has a lower rating than a 4-star rating, and really why I went with the 3-star, is because the beginning of the book was extremely slow. I like books that grab me in from the first 2 or 3 chapters. If I had to go any longer than 2 or 3 chapters, sometimes I had the tendency to put the book down. I didn't put the book down. I wanted to read the series, and so I kept going. But it was very slow and drawn out, and it really frustrated me. That's not to say the beginning isn't important, and one of the things I loved about this book was that every scene in the beginning was relevant to the story.